That's what your flesh says. But now cautious competence says, I know it's not right if I scratch your eyeballs out. I want to scratch them out, but I know that's not right. That's not right. And so I'm going to cautiously turn my other cheek. Turning the other cheek simply says that the way that you did that was wrong. I'm going to show you the other side of this thing. Cautious competence. Cautious competence. And we're not even trying to move by cautious competence. That's not the highest level. You want to then progress from cautious competence to uncautious competence. Uncautious competence. Uncautious competence. To where you're doing right and you don't even have to think about it, because it is your nature. Now that's when you know that the love nature is dominating and Christ is loving through you, because you are abiding in the vine. You don't even have to think about it. Do you think that an apple tree has to think about producing apples? No. You just get connected and the apples grow up through the vine out to the branches. You don't even have to think about it. You want to grow to this level that we call uncautious competence. So you're walking in love and you don't even have to think about it, because love is who you are. In him you live and you move and you have your being. You don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to think about it. I remember there was someone who was over in my house some time ago, and my son was really young at that time, and he had run and hurt himself, and he'd come to his daddy. He was crying, and I'm sitting there talking to the adult, and we never broke conversation, but I'm uncautiously competent in my love, and I'm just stroking him and calming him with my presence. And he calms down and gets all right, and then runs off and plays. And what I did unconsciously, I wasn't even aware of it, but the adult that I was talking to said, I love how you just ministered to your son. I'm like, what did I do? Where is he? It was uncautious competence. I wasn't thinking about it. It was like an instinct to me. I wasn't thinking about it. We have to get to that place to where Jesus wants to love through us. And you don't even have to think about it. It's just his nature and his grace. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to call up a committee meeting, because you've got somebody here who's hungry and you've got a pantry full of stuff. You don't even have to think about it, because he said, you saw me hungry, and then if you didn't do anything about it, we're going to get in trouble with him. We're going to get in trouble with him. So we want to be able to grow into this place to where Paul was. Paul was walking in such a deep level of love. It was uncautious competence in love. And I know that you know people who are unconsciously incompetent in love. They are mean and ornery, and they don't even realize it. It's interesting. I was on the plane this week, and a grown man with gray hair and a grown woman, just fighting like cats and dogs, didn't even know each other, name calling. And they go to we're about to get on the plane, and it's like the woman goes up and she complains to the flight attendant and to the captain, this man is harassing me. It's like, I did not, I did too, did not, did too. They got on the plane in first class, going at each other like cats and dogs. It just so happened that they were seated near each other. And the lady said, I can't go on this flight not sitting next to him. You know they had to change seats for somebody else? They had to change seats. They were unconsciously incompetent. And it was just amazing. It was just amazing. I mean, with gray hair and acting like two children out on a playground who just too immature to even, just name grown folks. Grown folks. Grown folks. Not of my hue. And I'm like, what is this about? Somebody had a bad day. You know, we ought to just be able to love people because they are people made in the image of God. Because whenever you mistreat another human being, it means that we are not cautious, we are unconscious of the God image into which they are made. There's a God image here. And every time that we begin to abuse something that is made in the image of God, it ought to hurt us. And we have to grow to the place that we have an unconscious competence in walking in the love of God, knowing that we are loved people. We are loved people. Notice verse 2. Paul here is emphasizing that the revelation of God cannot be properly known apart from the cultivation of brotherly love within Christian community. Notice here he says that their hearts may be encouraged, being knit together in love. Knit together in love. Another version says this, that you can actually use the word interchangeably, instructed in love, instead of knit together. Instructed in love, and attaining to all riches of the full assurance of understanding, the full assurance of understanding, to the knowledge of the mystery of God, both of the Father and of Christ. In other words, our depth of understanding of Christ is facilitated when the believer's hearts are bound together in love. You cannot fully understand the love of Jesus Christ if you don't know how to walk in love with other human beings. It's impossible. Because there's a dimension of the love of Jesus Christ that is expressed through other humanity. Please understand that if humanity causes an offense in your life, God will also use humanity to correct the offense. By offense, by man, sin came into the world, and by man, sin was taken away. That's why Jesus had to come, and he gave up his mighty power and glory. He walked the earth as a man, endowed by the Spirit of God. So man brought sin, but the right man was the one to take sin away. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? We had one of our employees. He had a thing against white people. And he was hanging in the wrong place one day and got shot by another black guy. And guess who saved his life? A white man walking down the street had to save his life. It changed his attitude. He had been offended with whites, but God brought a good white person into his life, says, don't judge my creation by the individual act of you've encountered individual racism, and he says, now I want you to encounter the individual love of God. He saw Christ through a white man, and he had hate for him, and his own kind had shot him and left him nearly bleeding to death from a femoral vessel shot in his leg, bleeding out, and he would have been dead in a matter of moments. And it's amazing what God used to come into his life and to save him. The very thing that had offended him years ago, God also brought a man. And it's amazing. You can have a person, a man that will rape or molest a little girl, and then God will bring a righteous person who will love them as a father, who will protect them, care for them, love them unconditionally. Because when offense comes by one, God will also send another one that will become the expressed image of Jesus Christ. We are the only Christ that some people will ever know. And I'm just telling you, you'll never know the fullness of the love of Christ. Whenever you find people that just say, no, it's just me and Jesus, oh, you will never know the fullness of the identity of God and Christ if it's just you and Jesus. Because we are the body. We are the body. And if you need a hug, you're going to get a hug from the body. You know, I'm just telling you, a spirit is not going to come down from heaven and just give you the caress. He may do that too, but he's also going to send you the caress through somebody, through somebody that expresses that to you in a tangible way, and you'll stand back and realize, you know, God, I know that was you loving on me. Have you ever been in a position where you felt unloved and God just sent somebody and you realize this person didn't even know what they were doing to me and for me, but they were a God send right at that moment, because I was ready to give up, and God sent somebody into your life right at that time to really change how you were feeling. It's amazing.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.